Welcome to OPENVISION.SPACE. Today we're sitting down with Marian Dang, former head of sustainability and public affairs at H&M South Asia, and we're talking about using and really the importance of your authentic voice in creating a more sustainable future. Marian's background spans working for Google as well as in television, and she is now helping leaders embody their authentic voice with her company Rise Beyond. With a background in Vietnam and the Netherlands, she embodies Open Vision. Please enjoy this conversation. One little disclaimer though, getting the sound quality right for this recording was a challenge as we recorded near a construction site, so bear with us. I promise you it gets better in the end, and also stick around because there's a little surprise. Enjoy. Marian, let's kick this off. What is authenticity?
Basically, what I believe authenticity is that when we are in alignment with our true values, needs, and emotions. So first of all, we need to know, okay, what are our needs, our emotions, and values? That's already, in the first place, is a challenge to really think of, is that really mine, or is it because of the society is proposing it, or because it's social conformity to act in a certain way. So first have clear, who are you? So being self-aware, what are your needs, emotions, and values on a daily basis, and then making the choice to be in alignment with that. So authenticity is actually choosing to be in alignment every day in what you feel, what you value, what you need, and your emotions. Yeah. So that is actually the truest expression of yourself.
Every day.
Yeah. Well, if that's possible, that's the thing. But being aware of it, right? And being aware of like, okay, is this really me, or is it the ego or the society, or and choose to be in alignment with that.
And so this is your mission, to bring about more authenticity in the workplace.
Yeah. So my mission is multiple things, but it has to do with authenticity, to actually make people connecting to their own authenticity, so that they can be in their fullest expression of themselves, and at the same time be in full connection with others. So basically it is not only a journey for yourself, but it will help others as well, whether you are in a team, whether you are in a company, or the bigger society, because when you are at your best, you are actually helping others to be their best as well. And that is where we all rise as the collective.
And that's rising beyond.
Yeah, that is the rise beyond.
I think that's so important because, especially in the diversity and inclusion space, we talk a lot about representation. Yeah. And for me, it's being authentic. That's the best form of representation, because you can have one authentic person in a meeting, and that changes the whole dynamic. Yeah. But it can also be a whole, theater piece where everybody's playing a role. Yeah. But having that one person break that narrative, very powerful.
Because, I love it when you say that, because somehow I feel that people, we all want to be authentic. Yes. We want to almost be freed,
100%.
I want to express myself, but it is a little bit like, as if we are waiting, okay, who's going first? Who's going first? And then one is going first, and I can also open up and express myself.
It's like jumping off that cliff into the ocean.
Yeah. And I want to really emphasize that this is, again, an individual process, but part of the collective, part of the social. So when you are being authentic, again, you inspire others and you allow others to be themselves as well. Yes. And that is rising, whether your team or your business, it's like all together, like rising and performing to your best potential.
That's it. As head of sustainability and public affairs, you've been doing a lot of public speaking, especially on the topic of sustainability. How is that tied to the work that you currently are doing?
So that's a big part, right? Because so my mission is to connect people with their authenticity, authentic voice actually, so that they can communicate, so that they can act, lead, and speak with authenticity. So the speech part and the communication is the main element of Rise Beyond. Yes. And how that is then connected to, let's say, my previous job in sustainability public affairs, there it was all about connection and collaboration. We cannot reach a more sustainable future without collaborating. Collaborating is just key. And whether you are in sustainability or not, just in general, in business, you need to collaborate. Internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, and collaboration starts with having a connection with another person. And having a connection starts with communicating. And there it is about authentic communication, because communicating is one way, we just speak and have words here and there, but authentic communication is where it's genuine, where it's real, where you really believe in what you say, where you are actually allowing yourself to be yourself and creating space for another person to be themselves as well. So that's where we connect, and that is where we collaborate.
I often say, you know what, there's two types of people. You have the ones that listen to react, and the ones that listen to understand. And I think the latter one is all about creating that connection. And often when we're in a meeting where we just talk about having a mask on, it's listening to react, or it's saying something to be heard. And that is not conducive to true connection. And then collaboration often is hard or challenging in those atmospheres.
And that is so one of the exercises that I always do with my workshops. So basically I work with 4 pillars. There are 4 pillars that are connecting to your authentic voice or authentic speech. So it's the physical element, the mental, the emotional, and the energetic. And one of it, the mental or the mind, is about intention. So why are you actually speaking, or why are you speaking up? And it can be as small as when you are in a business meeting, that when you want to reply or what you're saying, to react or to respond without understanding, then we can just ask ourselves, okay, why do I speak up in this moment? Is it because I feel that I need to be heard or I need to be seen? Or sometimes, why don't you speak up? So that's another way, okay, what is my intention for this meeting now? Why am I attending here? Because I would like to, for example, contribute to solve a problem, or I would like to strengthen certain relationships, or I would like to show empathy, whatever the intention is. But by having that intention, we are more conscious about when we speak and how we speak.
Okay, can you walk us through the other pillars? I'm especially excited to hear about the energetic pillar.
Okay, so let's start with the physical. The physical is purely understanding how the muscles of your vocal cords work, right? Because it's an instrument in our throat. Everyone has it, and it's unique to everyone. So my voice is different than your voice and than everyone else. And knowing that in order for the vocal cords to vibrate, we need to have air. So without air, without breathing, there's literally no sound coming out. So the physical part, we focus a lot on the breathing and the foundation of the core. Because again, if you don't have this, if you don't have the breathing solid, the voice comes out either too softly or a bit like trembling, or not your natural voice. And it also helps you right away to be more grounded, to be more powerful in your speech. But it all starts with this whole body, with the breathing, with the vocal cords, and how you are standing in your posture. And then the mental part is what I already mentioned, like having the intention, the purpose of speaking. Why do we speak? But it also helps with speaking with clarity, because if you know, okay, I'm going to attend this meeting with this intention, or I'm going to be on stage for hundreds of people with this intention, then your whole speech will be directed to that intention, right? So again, if it's to solve a certain problem, or to strengthen relationships, or just to connect, if that intention is clear, every word that you say is redirected to that. The emotional part, I love this one because it's not the most easy, but we have a lot of thoughts going on all the time.
My goodness,
And these thoughts are either supporting us or limiting us or neutral, but it's important to become aware of these thoughts, because they create a certain emotion. And that emotion is then leading to how you're speaking, whether it is again in terms of hundreds of people, or one-on-one, or in a team. So it's becoming aware of those thoughts that are happening, for instance, those self-critique or judgment, and just becoming aware of it and making the choice to not engage with it. that helps immediately in how we actually communicate with another person.
So it's all very psychosomatic in a way. The way that you feel or thoughts that you think, they affect the way that you show up physically as well, right?
Yes,
how you use your voice then.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then with this, what we've mentioned earlier, the physical, mental, and emotional, all of these are also related to each other, right?
Yeah.
So with our thoughts, we have certain emotions that is then leading to a certain posture. But at the same time, we can also manipulate it, so to speak, by focusing on the posture and breathing, where we then actually create a different emotion. And that is all connected in how we are speaking and interacting. And the last part, the energetic part, which you were curious about. So the energetic is multiple things, but one thing is that we actually speak louder with our vibes than with our words, right?
So it's how you come into a room.
How your attitude is. Actually, it's your attitude, because this is, to make it very simple, without knowing a person, we can, as human beings, we are we sense things. So we are social beings that we sense whether a person is genuine and authentic or not, without even knowing a person. So how is that possible, right? Because it's all about this attitude, all about this vibe, all about how they present themselves and stand, how they connect with us and how we connect with others. So the energy part is where we really focus and tap into your attitude. What is your attitude? What is your energy? And a simple example, when you enter a room, you can really feel, wow, this person has this presence, or a smaller presence. And it's all about your own presence. Everyone has a presence, but how can we get that presence out of you?
Yeah, sometimes you have an interaction with someone and you think something's off, but that's the energetic part that you're talking about.
Yeah, this attitude or this vibe, right? This vibe. And there's so many layers to it, but it starts with, if we are aware of our own vibe, if we are aware of our own attitude, then we are actually able to then connect with others as well. Right? So, and that is what people sense, whether there is a little bit of a blockage or more like an open book.
Yeah, beautiful. So it starts basically with self-awareness and being conscious of the way that you move around in the world.
Being aware of how you work, what are your values, what are your needs, what are your emotions, and how can you use those four elements, the physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, to influence your emotions and how you speak, how you show up, how you lead.
And you said something very interesting first. You said, if we're talking about sustainability, and in general, like impacting the future in a positive way, we need to be able to collaborate, and that happens only through connection. And for connection, you need authenticity. Can you speak a little bit more about that vision for the future, that sustainability, and how it is important to show up as an individual as authentic as possible?
Oh, I think it all starts with us self. So what I always believe in is, yes, we need to, of course, make changes to drive a more sustainable world for both society and environment, but it can only happen when, again, between people, because we need to collaborate, but that starts when we feel this connection and the need ourselves. So why is it important for you as an individual to take care of your society or the environment? Really feel it, right? So like, why does it matter to you that we need to be mindful about the water consumption and not pollute the waters? For example, now we're here at the beach in Barcelona. Can we really connect with that and feel that, wow, how precious is it that we have the blue waters up here, but it's scarce, for example? That is like really on the individual internal part. How important is that to you? How do you connect to all the earth elements? But at the same time, so that's more on the environmental part. But if we want to be part of our society, a thriving society, a healthy society, it also means that we want to belong, and we need to put part of ourselves in there as well. And we only put part of ourselves in there if we feel connected and belonging to something. Right? So again, here, what does it need? What does it take for you to feel that connection? What does it take for you to feel that belonging of this bigger society, belonging and knowing that, because when you are part of something, of course you want to do better, of course you want to contribute, right?
Wonderful. I think that's such an interesting mindset. When I look at indigenous cultures, they often say, you know what, I am the ocean, rather than saying I'm just a drop in the ocean. You know, it really doesn't matter how much impact I can make or what I do. Does that resonate with you and your own Vietnamese background?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because when we talk about, I think that the cultures, the Asian culture for sure. So when we study different cultures, there are 5 categories where we can distinguish them. And one of them is the individualism versus collectivism, right? Yeah. And I feel certain cultures are more focused on the individual, and others are more collective. Yes. And Asian cultures, and especially where I come from, it's very collective. Everything happens like in big groups, and you almost forget yourself because everything is part of the bigger, right? Yes. So there it is already the social, the community aspect, which is like super important. Yeah. At the same time, when it comes to sustainability and the environment, there is still a bit of a challenge because, like I mentioned, when my parents are coming literally from the war, stepping on a little float, a boat, without anything on them, just the clothes that they were wearing, there's no even time to think about the environment. There's no time to think about sustainability because they need to think about their own survival. Yes. So sustainability is sometimes almost considered as a luxury problem. Yes. Yeah, because you can only think about the sustainability if you have all the basics covered first. Yes. So that is also, I didn't grow up with sustainability at all. Recycling and all of that, yeah, because I was part of the Netherlands and the social Dutch society. But back home in our home, there was no sustainability. At the same time, my mom did grow her own vegetables in the garden herself, and she did make everything herself. And if I had like a hole in my sock, she would like sew it 10 times until it was so uncomfortable. It was like, tear it apart, and then you exactly yes. But it was up until really the last edge to recycle. But it came from a different kind of mindset.
I totally agree with you. I think it's a privilege. And then on the other hand, because there's this need to survive in many areas of the world, they are sustainable just by their way of
default,
life.
Because they need to be a bit more considerate and be more conscious. And but also, again, this connection. It comes back to connection. What is your connection to, again, a sock or a sweater or a dress, right? And if we have a very strong connection with it, there's less likely that we throw it away and replace it. So there is this angle coming back again all the time, connection on a human level, into an individual level, but on the business level, on the environmental level, on the all of that. It is getting back to that connection.
So for business leaders, you talked about the collaboration, the connection, and how authenticity actually is a prerequisite for a successful business. Can you talk a little bit more about finding that authentic voice and why it is so important? Because someone may say, well, you know, I have a huge business, we have amazing profit. And then I say, well, it's not just about profit, it's also about people and planet, as we discussed. But starting with that baseline authentic voice.
Very good question, because it's all related, it's all connected. So when we say a company that makes a lot of profit or is growing, why is it growing? Why is it making a profit in the first place? And because it's humans who are driving it. It is still, how I see companies and organizations, it's still like an organism, part of a big environment, social and really the environment itself. So it grows, but to make it sustainable, we need people, and we need to find a way that is pushing forward, that is maintainable, right? And that starts with, again, collaborations and connection. And why that is so important for leaders, they are literally setting the whole stage of the company. When there are organizational values or company cultures, it is from top down, it is the leaders that are defining what is a company culture, what is a company strategy, but at the same time, it is them that are inhibiting it and embodying it so that they can spread it out and inspire and engage everyone else in the organization. So when we talk about authentic voice or authentic speech, it's basically how can leaders lead in such a way that it's genuine, true to themselves, at the same time that is enabling this connection, that is enabling this collaboration, and that is enabling the engagement. And that again starts when they are knowing what is their full potential and how they are at their best.
I love how you say that organizations or businesses, no matter how big they are, they're like a living organism. Yeah, I'm all about that. I have a new term. It's called ecosystems thinking. Right? So we have to look at everything as an ecosystem. And in business, you say, oh, we have a supply chain. And there are clients or maybe they're partners. But if you look at them from an ecosystem, you're all interdependent on each other, right?
Yes. That is exactly, you're right. It is this ecosystem. It's literally, and it's driven by human beings. Without humans, of course, we need to have strategies all that in place, but it is then also defined by human beings and by leaders. So they are the ones that can literally shape the future, future of business, future of growing, and future of how we want to be in this society and on this planet. So again, coming back to authentic voice, the voice is one thing, yes, what comes out and how we communicate, how we speak. Of course, I can focus on how to present in the most confident way when you have to present in front of thousands of people, but it goes actually much more deeper than that. It's also how you show up one-on-one, how you show up in a small group meeting, and even without having a meeting, how you show up with your whole attitude. Like we mentioned earlier, the energetic part, it's literally what people sense, your attitude, your vibe. So do you have this vibe of openness, of authenticity, of welcoming expression, of inclusiveness, of collaboration?
I have this French saying in my head, c'est la ton qui fait la musique. It's the tone that makes the music, right? So it's the way that you use your voice and the presence that you bring in the room that will make a conducive or a non-conducive environment or atmosphere dynamic to collaboration.
Exactly.
So would you say that finding your authentic voice and using that as a leader that will help with challenges such as, I think a lot of, well, if you look at intergenerational collaboration, there's this big challenge now of retention of talent or attracting talent. Do you think it's something that would help with that? That people will say, you know, especially from the younger generation, I only want to work for a company with purpose and an inspiring leader who embodies that vision.
Exactly. Yeah. There is now actually a lot of studies and data shown that indeed the employees are looking, they want more than just a job. They want to work for a company that has values that are contributing somehow to the larger whole, whether it's the society or the environment, because they also want to work for companies that are matching with their own values. And that is then again, if we are not authentic, to what extent can you then retain the right employees? So I would like switch it around. So, okay, what are the costs of not having of not being in alignment with your values, right? So I believe now that almost all companies have, to a certain extent, a focus on sustainability or impact, but it's about, are they in alignment with it by every day on a daily basis, really living it and embodying it, because that is what the employees are choosing to be in, or choosing to not be in. Right? So the question is, or the question is, what happens if you are not aligned with your values, authentic values?
So you're saying as a company you should move beyond just a campaign or some values written somewhere and saying this is what we are, and then in your daily life or in your daily work life you don't see it. That's not embodying it. That's not authentic. So for our listeners, maybe you're thinking now like, am I authentic or what? How do you know if you're being authentic? Is it about knowing your values? Or is it a feeling? Is there a way to assess that?
Yeah.
I think some people are listening and think, oh my God, am I fake?
And you know, there's also, I must say that for a lot of people it's also a bit uncomfortable to search like this authenticity, and sometimes again, like I said, it's more comfortable just to hide yourself behind a certain role or a certain title or a certain but then again, The benefit is that you are in your full potential, that you are like most alive, most expressive version of your fullest potential. That is why we are on earth. That is why we are living. That is actually our purpose. Our purpose doesn't mean we need to save the world. No, our purpose is actually how can we be our fullest expression of ourselves, because that is who you are. And how you can feel that is, it feels good. It feels maybe uncomfortable, a little bit like the ego is speaking. Everyone else is maybe thinking strange of you, or like this inner critic. But it feels that you're in a natural flow where things go just very easily, where you feel that you're in your flow, the flow state, right? When you do a certain task,
You forget about time.
yeah, because it comes effortlessly. You get energized by it. You feel this aliveness. I think maybe that is the big indicator. This aliveness of the passion, this inner drive, or it could be also that your aliveness is being fully grounded and fully calm. But that is like, this is who I am. This is natural.
Calm and secure in yourself.
It goes effortlessly. Yeah. And another way is then when you feel something is off, also in a certain situation or certain interactions, or even with yourself, like it's there's something turmoil inside of you, then you can check again. Hey, what are my values? What are my emotions? What are my needs? And am I in alignment with that?
Yes. So checking in with yourself and also taking the time for that.
Yeah, taking the time for it, because now we're distracting ourselves all the time. We are not used to sitting just with ourselves. And allowing ourselves to hear what is that voice, that inner voice.
So we talked about how do you know if you're being authentic, and I think it's also a thing that comes in ebbs and flows. So sometimes you need to put on a mask because you're in a certain environment that's also maybe their survival mode in a way. But the more you can be authentic, I think the better, like you say, because that's our purpose as human beings. And throughout our conversation, I'm thinking about myself as like a little girl in primary school, and there's a question from the teacher, and I know the answer, but I don't dare to raise my hand, and I feel my throat is like, ugh. And then she's like, anybody knows the answer? No one. And she says, well, this is the answer. And of course, I had the correct answer in mind. And I feel like that is also not being, there goes the mic, not being authentic or honest with yourself, and you feel that sense of betrayal almost. So is there something that we can do? And I think this is a 6-year-old, an example, but I think a lot of us have that in our professional life especially. Is there an exercise that we can do to really connect more with that authentic voice?
Yeah, there are many exercises. I first want to tap into a bit what you said earlier, because you mentioned a few interesting points. First, you said about that sometimes we need to have a certain mask on or play a role, right?
Yes.
And that is also where I want to emphasize that authenticity does not mean that you always need to say like, this is who I am, I'm gonna express myself and take it or leave it. No, that's not it. So authenticity is actually that you are very aware of what is important to you, very aware of your emotions, your values and needs, but that you also make conscious decisions whether you are in alignment with that or not. So for example, if you need to play a certain role, because we are still in our society that we need to put on a mask sometimes, it is about, okay, I know now that I need to react a bit differently, but not dismissing what your actual needs are. So it's all about being conscious about it. That is the difference. So instead of just putting a mask on without being aware of it, like, hey, okay, now I need to act in a certain way, but I know that what I really need is this, but that's fine. After this, I can go back to what I need.
100%.
So that is the important...
I think that's also something that a lot of entrepreneurs, they are very conscious of that, because they go where their energy is uplifted in a sense, and they say, you know what, I don't have time, and I don't want to put energy into things that aren't in alignment with. So you become very aware of that, and it's making every time that conscious choice.
Exactly, because knowing that you have the choice too.
Exactly.
And then coming to the example of this 6-year-old, it's it's literally what you say. If we feel that we cannot speak up or express ourselves, we are literally like holding ourselves. We're kind of limiting ourselves. We're making ourselves small. We kind of suppress ourselves, and that, can you imagine what happens if that happens over and over and over and over, years over years over years? Even with the body, we literally start to cramp and start to like be blocked, right? So the very basic first thing is to get back to your body, to your awareness, and it starts with the breathing. And remember earlier I also said that breathing is needed in the first place.
It's the air, yes.
Right? Because without air, the cords, the vocal cords are not vibrating, there's no sound. But at the same time, the air and the breathing brings you in this state of awareness, and it brings you from the mind to the body. So we can do an exercise.
Okay, awesome.
So what I want you to do for the listeners at home maybe as well, is where you have both of your feet on the ground, and you can close your eyes, and you feel the base of your spine connected to the chair, and you start to elongate your spine. You roll your shoulders up, back and down, and you take a deep inhale through the nose and a deep exhale through the nose. Again, deep inhale and a deeper exhale. And now as you inhale, I want you to focus on your belly. So as you inhale, your belly is expanding and pushing all the way forward. And as you exhale, your belly is contracting and your navel draws all the way towards your spine. Again, inhale and really explore the space where you're expanding the belly. And exhale, navel draws all the way towards your spine. And continue in your own pace. And whenever your mind gets distracted, just bring your attention back to the inhaling and the exhaling. And you just observe the expansion of your stomach and the contraction. We're going to do one exercise where we breathe in for 5 counts. We hold for 5 and we exhale for 5. And I just want you to focus on your belly expanding and contracting when we do so. So from where you are, breathe out the excessive air. And start to inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. And release and come back into your natural breathing with your eyes still closed. And as your belly is expanding and contracting, start to observe if there's any changes in the feelings in the body, any sensations. Do you notice anything in your posture, in your facial expression? Observing where the mind is. Slowly, slowly roll your shoulders up, back and down one more time. And whenever you're ready, you can open up your eyes. Welcome back.
I feel more in my body, less in my brain, I feel. Yeah. and more calm. Wonderful. Yeah.
So this exercise, it's already like, it brings your tonation of your voice also immediately in a lower voice.
Wow.
So it has more this lower tone, it's more calm, it's more grounded. At the same time, it brings your body more in a like a relaxed state, in a calm state, but also being more present. So when we are interacting with another person, you feel more present and more connected. And it's a way to pause from distractions, to really allow yourself the time to be aware, like self-aware. Like, what is the mind thinking? What do I feel? Where am I? What is important, instead of rush and go from one to the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the word pause is very important here, because I always say you can hit pause whenever you want to, because I feel like so much of our time we're on the run, on the go.
Yeah.
And just by taking a breather, literally, and doing this exercise, I mean, it's just, not even 5 minutes, your whole state changes.
Yeah.
So this is very easy and accessible, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And it changed my voice. So I feel good. Yes. That's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So we talked about air, the importance of air actually as an element to create that inner connection, drive authenticity as a prerequisite for collaboration. And that is number one and very key in thinking of our future and creating that sustainably.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the voice is much more than just an instrument for speaking.
It's much more, because it's literally with our voice that we can express ourselves, connect, but also influence, right? So it is also that inner voice, that what are you using your voice for, and so not only in what way, but what are you using it for to make an impact. And of course, there are very practical exercises to strengthen that voice on the very physical level, but also on the figuratively, to strengthen that inner voice, like what is important to you. So it's like a whole holistic package almost. And that is where I really envision and hope that we will get to, that we all become more conscious leaders and inspiring everyone that we are interacting and engaging with on a daily basis, which is a lot of people without us knowing it.
The voice as a vehicle for impact.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. I love that as well.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it myself.
Should be a tagline.
Yes.
It is. Thank you so much for this conversation. Anything you'd like to leave our audience with?
Well, I think first of all, thank you, the audience, for listening, because it takes already the first step to allow yourself the time to listen, to learn about this topic. And I would like more and more people to get into that habit, so that we can all connect on a deeper level with each other.
Communication is really about interaction. So also, if you're listening and you are inspired by this conversation, feel free to connect with us, share your thoughts. And we also like to know how you experience that little breathing exercise. And maybe if you are now applying it into your daily life, I mean, every day we could do this, like in the middle of the day. Just take a breather. Yes. All right, key insights. In building a more sustainable future, it is so important to do business or collaborate from a place of trust. And a prerequisite for that is authenticity. So in your own leadership position, it's about embodying that vision, embodying that leadership. It's not a trick. It's not a 10 steps on how to become a confident and impactful speaker. That really is not sustainable, because, like Marian said, and Susanna as well, people will feel that is inauthentic. And that brings us to the 4 pillars that Marian talked about. Number 1, physical, really your vocal cords and the air that you use to bring about that sound, your voice, your vision. It's mental. Why are you speaking up? Or why are you being silent? Then it's also emotional, right? The awareness of your thoughts. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What is happening? And then finally, the energetic part. That is really how you walk into a room. And it has to do everything with your intention and also the clarity of why you're there and what you are willing or wanting to achieve. Connection. It's all about us as humans having a connection with each other, but also connection with nature and then the earth and its elements. And that sense of belonging, true authenticity, will then lead to more sustainable leadership. I thought that was beautiful. Also, Marian said, think of businesses as a living organism. Every little part matters. And I really like that. And if we would approach it that way, it would be so different, wouldn't it? And finally, the purpose of you is to be the fullest expression of your potential. So it doesn't do well to copy. It doesn't do well to try and be someone else. It doesn't do well to compare. Really embody your authentic voice. Thank you, Marian. Thank you, Norska in Barcelona. And thank you for listening. Until the next one.